Hello and welcome to the Give and Take show, The Positives in Life. And I thank you viewers for tuning in again. So now last week I spoke a little bit about the Oprah's Belief premiere, and I spoke about the different episodes. So I'm currently in a group that we're watching the episodes every Sunday, and this Sunday the episode was called Love Story. And in that, it showed different people's belief and faith in God as to why they were in whatever situation they were in. And one story in particular, when the gentleman spoke about his forgiveness, he had to forgive in order to heal and move forward. And so as I talk about healing and forgiveness, that gives me the intro for my next guest. And her name is Nell, and she will talk to you and explain to you exactly what she does, and she will introduce her with her full name. And so now at this time, Nell, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you, Cicely, for having me.
Mm-hmm.
So my full name is Nell Tomassen Reboh. What else did you need to know?
Well, we did want to talk about the topic, and that's connecting
Yes.
with wholeness. Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, right.
That's the topic,
Mm-hmm.
and everything else is on the screen, right?
Right, the topic. And
So.
also, what is your title? What do you do?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Ascension Transformation Coach, New Paradigm MDT, Ambassador of Love.
Great, wonderful. So now I would like to make that connection with what I said about forgiveness, because we were having conversations about how when you become ill, and of course there's the scientific piece to it, but there's also a deep spiritual aspect of it also. So would you like to share with the viewers what we had discussed earlier about
Sure.
forgiveness?
Yes, absolutely. Let me just explain a little bit, because I was throwing quite a bit of words out there.
Yes.
And some people may have heard the word ascension, but not quite know what it is.
Sure.
So ascension is basically raising consciousness. And new paradigm is another such word that is popping up left and right. And new paradigm simply means a new perspective, a way of seeing and doing things.
Okay.
And MDT stands for multi-dimensional transformation.
Okay.
Multidimensional is something that we all are. There's more to us than just our physical body.
That's right.
There's more to us than just our spiritual body. We have an emotional body. We have a mental body. We have, there's multiple layers of being.
Okay.
And evolution is something that continues. We can fight it if we like to, and or we can just surrender and allow ourselves to be active creators in this path of evolution.
Okay.
And for that, in order to be of service in this field, it's important to be connected to the wholeness of who we are.
Exactly, because that is our part, is to do
Yes.
service, and to do
Yes.
service in whatever aspect that we are here to do service.
Exactly.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So now you were asking me about my journey with forgiveness.
Yes, because it was very, I think
So-
that you sharing this with the viewers
Yes.
will really give them a deep understanding of how the forgiveness is very important for you
Yes.
to move on in every aspect of life.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So for quite a while, as a child, I was very, I always believed in angels, and I always thought that I was an angel, and I thought everyone else was an angel too, until I realized that that was not an accepted dynamic.
Okay.
And so eventually I became more of a closet angel.
new.
Then I dropped that altogether and really dove into more intellectual things, and was very concerned with everything about the mind, and got busy with that for a while. And I learned that, we needed to have some sort of balance. And eventually I became, again, a spiritual seeker. And I learned all about how important forgiveness was. And I didn't even see, because when you are in a certain paradigm, to use that word,
Yes.
when you are thinking along certain lines, you're not necessarily looking from within. And so what ended up happening in my case is, even though I was doing all this spiritually correct work, I found myself with breast cancer. And I was still nursing my youngest one when that happened. And so I needed to really go and look within to see what is going on here, because I knew enough already about how thoughts create reality. And so I had now created this reality. So what was at the root cause of it?
Okay.
So I called up on my personal guides and my angel guides, and I went upon this quest and into this journey within myself. And I realized that those of us who come from angelic ancestry, we always learn that angels are full of love. But what happens when the love is blocked? Then we are full of hate. And that's exactly what I was finally acknowledging, that I had such hatred for my father, because my father, I couldn't accept him as he was at the time, because he wasn't the hallmark picture of the loving father that I would like to have. He was a father who was tormented by, let's say, the effects of the war, World War II. He was, as a child, he had witnessed his dad being held at gunpoint by SS officers because they were harboring a Jewish family there. And he watched his father lie in front of them. And he was, of course, very fearful that he would not survive it. And yet the family was thankfully never found, and his father got to live. But when you walk around with a trauma like that, it keeps playing.
Sure.
And so that's what eventually I found out happened to my father. But it took me a while before I could see all of that.
Sure, yeah.
And all I could see was that he wasn't the picture of the kind of dad that I wanted at the time.
Because we have these expectations of what this perfect father should be, this perfect dad should be.
Yes, exactly. And he was emotionally not present. He wasn't connected.
Right.
So that's what happened. And eventually I realized that there was some forgiveness to be done, that I needed to forgive myself for seeing my father in a distorted way, and that I could have compassion for myself first. That's where I needed to go first, is to have compassion for the way I constructed that picture of my father. and then I could go deeper and have compassion for who he was. And eventually we came full circle.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to connect with him, as I told you before,
Yes,
so
you
I don't
did.
know if you want me to get into that.
I would like you to
So-
share, because I think it will be significant,
Yes.
and the viewers, I'm sure it will touch somebody in a very special way.
Yes,
And that's the point of the show, is to have those who come on say things that will connect with the viewer and could change their life.
exactly.
Mhm.
So basically, let me just say that, in case people are wondering, what happened with the cancer is I basically had lymphatic drainage done.
Mhm.
And when I did this deep self-healing work, I worked with crystals and really got to the root of everything.
Okay.
And the hatred came out of me in the form of acid. I was wearing a white shirt, and my armpits in the shirt were green. So you could tell that was acid, and my armpits were burnt. They were bright red. And everything just melted away that way, and I just put calendula cream and just sent love into it, and everything healed up beautifully. And
Great.
I did adjust my diet for a while to really just detox from everything. And that was the end of that.
Okay,
It was
good.
altogether a process of 10 days. And thankfully, I had already learned a lot about various types of energy therapy, which is why and I had people around me that were supportive.
Wonderful.
So,
And that's key. We were talking about that,
Yeah.
that it's one thing to have an illness, to have treatment, to have it scientifically diagnosed.
exactly.
But there's also the spiritual aspect of it. So you have to get the root of that
Yes.
as to what's causing it. And you got to the root of that. And so then
Yes.
you was able to heal in whatever form. So it's one thing to have treatment, but it's also good to have that support so
Yes.
that you can get in that place where you can begin to heal.
Yes. In my experience, the root cause, when you get to the root cause of it, when you address that, anything is possible.
Anything is possible.
Yes.
So now, Nell, you mentioned about these beautiful crystals that you have here on the table.
Yes.
So could you share with us what you have here in these crystals?
Okay. So these are, I consider crystals my friends. They are all live beings. They come from inside Mother Earth, and they reflect our being back to us. That's really what crystals do. I've read a lot about crystals, but there's one thing about reading them, and there's another thing about actually just allowing yourself to feel into them, and they reflect back your thoughts and your feelings.
Okay.
And feelings, in essence, are body thoughts. Excuse me. just a
Sure.
second. I can tell you the names of these crystals. If I really want to get into the crystals, the half hour will be gone, okay? So I don't necessarily want to do that.
Okay.
This is a ruby fusite. It's a beautiful supportive stone for the heart. This is a beautiful stone from the Himalayas.
It's beautiful.
It's
Unusual.
a record keeper crystal, and I don't know if you can actually zoom into the light, and if you can see the little triangles into the windows of it. I'm not sure, because in sunlight you can clearly see them, and in artificial light, I'm not sure that you can.
Okay.
Let me see. Nah, barely noticeable. Isn't that amazing? I could show this to you in daylight
Right.
in the sunlight, and you'll see tiny triangles in there. So, and I wish I could go into the Akashic Records meaning of it, but again, I don't think that's for now because we
Okay.
only have a half hour.
Sure.
Okay, that one is a Super 7 crystal. That one over
Super
there.
7.
Super 7 has
It's that 7 numbers coming back to me because on the Belief Show there was in the Hasidic when they got together as a union, the couple the bride circles the husband 7 times.
right.
And also in Mecca, the Muslims, they have this ritual where they circle
Right.
for 7 times. So there we go again with that 7.
Right. Okay, so Super 7, it has 7 different quartzes in it. Okay. You can really see the purple from the amethyst, and you can see the brown from smoky quartz. There's some reds in it, some beautiful Mexican crystal in there. It's definitely a South American crystal. And this is a Brandberg, you know, it's got a lot, it's a transmitter, it has a transmitter bridge. So it transmits energy really well. It's really great in my line of work when you facilitate meditations and when you do any kind of group therapy. It's beautiful. It just amplifies everything. This one is a Lemurian quartz. This is an apophyllite, zeolite. It has
beautiful.
about also. It has many different crystals in it. It has stilbite in it. It has prehnite in it. There's a lot going on there. And people who are interested in crystals, you know, there's lots of great books. There's Love is in the Earth by Melody. There is The Crystal Bible by Judy Hall. And it tells you the incredible healing qualities of the crystals. This one here is a fluorite. It has a lot of colors, beautiful things going on. It's very helpful in clearing the effects of geopathic stress.
Okay.
And this is a clear quartz. And I think that's what we have here on the table
So these
right
are
now.
your treasures.
So it's just part of the crystal family that
Right.
I get to work with
So-
in my work with Elixir.
Oh, good. Yes. So we're
So-
going on to Elixir. So now we can talk about that.
Yes.
Because I've known Nell for many years now, and there's always that pull that I get to come to you when it's time. And so I've had the experience with the Elixir. So I want you to share about.
Great.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. The work of Elixir. Elixir is an acronym for Eternal Love Exemplified Resonance. And it really was channeled also through the crystals. This work, it's a ministry of light. It came to me in a dream how to actually make elixirs with these crystals, or so-called gemstones. I was triggered basically by what was happening in my own life and what was happening as I was developing more and more and connecting to wholeness more, which is, the crystals really are an essential element to help with our ascension, with our connection to wholeness.
Right.
That's really what it is. At least it has helped me tremendously.
Right.
Really shed a light on, oh, we are more than just our bodies, and even the physical structure. If you put it under a very under a microscope, for instance, and there are pictures of that on the internet. When you look at tissue, like organ tissue, when you put it under the microscope, and enlarge it and keep enlarging it, you see the crystalline nature of it.
Okay.
So that's why they're so helpful.
I've heard for many years that crystals were very healing and
Right.
had properties for different things, but you know,
Right.
when I had the experience being with you, I got a little bit more information about crystals.
Yes.
Yes.
And I would like you to share, if you like to, I'd like you to share your experience with the elixir. But before I do that, I feel like I need to finish the story about my dad.
Okay.
How he and I became, how we came full circle.
Okay. Sure.
And I can now honestly say that I'm very happy with the dad I was dealt in life. I'm very thrilled because
wonderful.
without it, I would have never become what I am today.
And that's key.
So, yeah, or who
Is
I am
having
today.
that deep understanding that whatever's
It's
happened
really-
in our
yes.
lives, whether it be negative or positive,
Yeah.
that has been the thing that has brought you where you are today.
Yes, exactly. So, he really helped me get a good look at who I am and who we are together, and the journey that we are all on. What happened with my dad eventually, I was vacationing in Herkimer, New York. And Herkimer has this incredible Herkimer energy, which is there are crystals there that are getting mined there a lot. And I was at this site where I was mining my own crystals.
Okay.
And and then there's a river that runs through the campsite, and I was with some friends. And the Herkimer diamond is a very famous crystal among those who work with them. And so I am sleeping, and then I find myself connected with my dad as he's going through a TIA, and it's called a trans-ischemic attack, which is an attack of the brain. And I see that his whole system is resetting. And, through our DNA, we're connected. And he just, he had an episode of brain death as his system rebooted. And then I found myself as if I was a little kid with the fingers in the electrical outlet. I got zapped. So that was an interesting experience, to say the least. Something completely unexpected.
Right.
And then I was not surprised to receive, receive a phone call about this. And at the time, actually, I couldn't call because there's a 6-hour time difference, etc.
Okay.
So anyway, none of that matters. Eventually, I traveled back to the Netherlands, which is where I'm from. And I went and visited my dad, who was, they all thought he was dying, and I knew he was getting out of that because I saw it as we had that connection as he was going through that TIA. So anyway, I got to do some hands-on energy therapy with my dad, and he was, for the first time in years, completely off the meds because they thought he was dying. And he had struggled with a brain tumor for many, many years.
Right.
And because he was on those drugs, it was very hard to make an emotional connection too. So now he was completely clear and lucid and cognitive.
Right.
And it was incredible to make that kind of connection. And he could feel the love in the touch
Right.
as it was providing him that session,
Right.
and he was blown away by it,
Good.
and I was blown away by his ability to perceive and receive. I'm very grateful.
Lovely.
And I ended up having some moments of real connection with my father, which never in my wildest dream I could have imagined. So
That's wonderful.
that's how we came full circle.
So we're having this wonderful conversation, and talked about how it goes very quickly.
Yes.
So we're quickly winding down.
Yes.
And I do want to share a little bit about my connection with you, and because both myself and my father, we were dealing with some things in our health-wise, and so we came to you, and you did create this elixir, and you had the crystals, and it was interesting because you had said that how, because I've not been taking it on a consistent basis, but I was in fact correct, because you said you will get that pull as to when you need to use it, and I do use it. So sometimes I say, okay, I need to use it, and so and also with my father, and it was doing what it needed to do for him.
Yes.
But because we're used to certain norms in our life, that he got a little nervous because what it was doing, it was detoxing his body, which was really good, and so that was key for his healing. So now and again he'll take that chance and take it, but it was what he needed, because you connect between the crystals and the elixir. You know exactly what needs to be done for that person to begin to heal.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And particularly because when the elixir is mostly water, and it has the vibrations of the crystals in it.
Right, right.
And the fact is that physically, our bodies also contain mostly water.
Right,
so
exactly.
It's amazing. Crystals can create a landslide, and so whatever needs to happen, if something needs to move, it will move.
It will move. And I thought what was so lovely that you had said that you really connect with my father, and that he was so glad to see you, and he felt that you were, that you came down and you made that effort to come and see him also. And that was much appreciated.
Of course. I love him. He just has my heart.
Right, yes, and I see
and
that.
He knows it.
Yeah. But you've seen how wonderful he looks now. He's really getting in a good place, and it's because we said he has all those components of the treatment, the love, the foundation, the spiritual, the everything.
Yes.
And so it's not one thing as to why, when you heal, it's the different components. So we're coming near to the end now, and I want to thank you for taking that drive down from
upstate New York.
From upstate New York to come and be on the show.
Yes.
And share what you have to share with many, and that is the positives in life.
Yes.
And as you said to me, you seem like you just want people to come and talk about what they are doing in their lives, and without any censoring. Exactly. I want them to come and share, and so that people can get what they need to get. So thank you, Nell, and I'm sure I'll be having you on the show again. So for more information, you can contact me on cicelyg2015@gmail.com. So thank you, viewers. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Thank you, Nell.
Thank you, Cicely.